creating cosmos out of chaos. How do you move the energy towards the light? Because what you're doing right now, you have ascended to this plane where you're working with angels, with light, with God, with this divine feminine energy, all of these things. Like, how do you go from such darkness to this light?
Well, it was a couple of things. The first is that I know that I chose all of it. I know that I made an agreement with whatever we call God, that I would come. I didn't have to come back to this world. I didn't have to live a human lifetime here. I was in a really good place someplace else in the multiverse, and I volunteered for the mission. And I volunteered for the mission because if you want to channel a modern sacred text on sovereignty, you have to plunge into the depths of slavery to understand how to rewrite the codes, rewrite the DNA that has been enslaved for centuries. Someone had to go in and survive the depths of elite Luciferian human trafficking that's happening on this planet to actually download and channel a sovereign sacred text that activates humanity's divinity, divine genome. So when I came in, I already came in with the light inside of me, and I never lost touch with that light. That doesn't mean I didn't have a world of trauma to like the human experience. Oh my God, the layers of trauma I've had to work through over the course of my lifetime, but I never lost touch with the light within me. And I was conversing with the angels and the ascended masters as early. My earliest memories is of doing that is somewhere between 3 and 4.
When you said that you had this interaction with the angels, like, what was that like? Like,
it's like how we're talking right now.
So they felt completely human and real to you.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just functioning in a physical world. The amount of trauma that I experienced meant that I lived primarily in the spirit world. So a lot of living outside of my body, which meant I could easily engage with all of the, the protectors and the guardians and the guides that were surrounding me.
For everybody listening and watching this right now, you could share the experience, something that was really beautiful that you share in the Sophia Code, right? About that moment when everything came through to you.
I think that is that moment, the channeling, the taking, like bringing the information onto planet Earth the way that you did. Was that the turning point from the dark for you? Was that when you, like, what happened at that point?
Actually, yoga was the turning point.
Really?
Oh.
That's amazing.
Funny how that worked.
Yeah. There was a yoga studio down the street from my apartment in downtown Boston, and one day I got off of work, got off the train, and I looked at it and I was like, I'm supposed to go there. And I walked in and there was like all these Indian statues, and I didn't know what to think of any of it. And I met my teacher, David, who I studied with for years. Wow. And as soon as I started to realize that yoga was transforming my body and helping me save my own life, I started going like literally 4 hours a day.
Wow.
So they would have back-to-back classes every night, and that's where I would go, 4 hours a night. And about 2.5 years of that, I had a full-blown Kundalini Awakening.
Was it Kundalini Yoga that you're practicing in the studio?
No,
what kind of yoga
it was Hatha.
Hatha.
They had Hatha, Ashtanga, Iyengar. I mean, it was a hardcore studio. Like they were wonderful. At the time it was called Back Bay Yoga. And they were teaching meditation. They were teaching like snippets of Sanskrit and chanting, but it wasn't like some Hare Krishna environment. It was yoga in Boston when yoga was not popular.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool environment, like really hardcore people showing up.
What was that first class for you like?
Do
you remember?
That's a great question. I just remember the first few weeks of yoga just being really confused about the whole thing. I was like, I know I'm supposed to keep doing this, so I'll just keep doing it. It was, you know what it was? It was the Ashtanga.
Very militant?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. It was the repetition of Ashtanga, and it was how athletic it was. I was like, all right, I can get into this. You do this spiritual yoga thing.
How was the spiritual part, though? Because, I mean, you already came in and you had such interaction with the spirit world already, angels, ascended masters, and then you come into a class where it's about Hindu deities.
Well, I went through a period at that time where I was blocking all of it.
Oh, wow.
I was in so much pain.
You mean the angels as well? Okay, so you kind of disconnected from that connection
It wasn't actually possible for me to disconnect, but it would be like, say if you're like really mad at like a family member and you're just like, I'm not calling you. And you just sort of like don't reach out. And
is it easier to integrate? Like, because it sounded like coming out of that, you had some time to adjust to society, I imagine.
I mean, honestly, at that time, like I wasn't like an alcoholic or anything, but I would drink like almost every day. I smoked. Like I was just trying to check out.
Oh, yeah.
I was just in so much pain, and so
there's a lot less noble reasons to check out, and that's like, holy shit.
Yeah. So it was. I could still see some of them, but there was a period of time where I really was like, I would just force as much as I could to not see any of it, because I just needed to go into the black of my anger and my grief and my confusion, and just try to be human, which I didn't know how to be.
I bet.
Like I really didn't. Like I was like, well, humans do that. I will practice doing that thing. Like, they dress like that. They move like that. They make small talk. They go to jobs. They get in cars or trolleys. Like, do the thing that they're doing. Like, it was really bizarre for many years. It's taken me most of my adult life to...
It's still a little bizarre.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, and I didn't like...
It's a journey of landing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So because I was so psychically open, and at that point too, it was like I was so surrounded by darkness that was oppressing me. Like I was forcing to shut everything down because there was so much demonic like attacks all of the time in my early 20s. And then once my Kundalini Awakening happened, there was like this full kind of like reunion of like, there's no getting out of this. There's no getting out of being me. There's no getting out of these psychic gifts, and there's no getting out of, I can either like try to keep hedging myself away, or I could just fully surrender to it and start developing my gifts.
So you had this Kundalini Awakening.
Yeah.
What happened after that? Where did that guide you towards next?
Well, fortunately at that time I had a really nice paying job. And so I was even getting like just like raises and just from my work and different new projects that allowed me to financially to travel and start meeting with teachers around the country. And to start training, like, you know, did like Reiki mastership and controlled remote viewing training. So I did a remote viewing when the Twin Towers fell. I bilocated to the center of the towers. It was falling, and like I was surrounded by like thousands of souls screaming, and I was like, okay, I am out of here.
Did that happen unconsciously, or did he?
No. The
like...
way, if I go into it, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
But controlled remote viewing is how they train soldiers to do psychic remote viewing. Okay. And so there's very specific protocols, and the target's always hidden in an envelope. And so as soon as I sat down and I did it with the small group that they were training. I didn't just view it. I actually what's called bilocated psychically to that, and so I got to experience what it was like to die in the
astral
towers.
travel.
It's like in a form of astral travel. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyways, side note on that, huh? So, but then I started, so out of that, the reason why I wanted to train with him is because this program they use controlled removing to try to find missing children. And of course that like spoke to my heart, and I wanted to be a part of that. I was like, whoa, this is how I could use my gifts. Like, after that, I was like, how about Reiki 1? You know, like,
Holy.
let's head in a more like lighter direction. And I went and did a training with Doreen Virtue. She used to do like week-long trainings like years ago. I know things have changed for her.
That's interesting, right? How she made that complete shift.
What happened to her?
So she became a devout Christian and rejected
yoga or
all the things that she was teaching before.
Yeah.
So you trained, do you know this story? Like what happened with Doreen?
I do. It was a pretty big shocker for the spiritual world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you think happened? Like, why did she just shift?
I don't want to comment on that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, but
It was a shocker.
what I would like to say is like her work changed millions of lives, and then she went on to persecute the very people that she was serving for over 20 years. So I think, you know, there's obviously something that she's exploring there.
Yeah.
How was your training with her?
It was actually really great.
I imagine, yeah.
It was in Laguna Beach, and I had like a really good time and met some awesome people. And it was
Doreen Virtue. Yeah, it's got to be great.
444 people in the room, which I thought was so cool. It's an angel number. And
That's cool.
we had so much fun, and I left there knowing that it was time to step into a professional offering with my gifts and skills. So I went back to Boston and actually rented a room in my yoga studio, and I started seeing clients. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see where this goes, right? Like, don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
And lawyers, doctors, nurses, which in Boston, like 25 years ago, whatever, how long it's been, like that was like unheard of.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're all secretly showing up, stuffing cash in my pockets. Like just, it was shocking to me. I was only like 27, and you know, I had my regular job at like downtown in the financial district. And then in my private life on Saturday, like all these people are coming for like psychic sessions and psychic. So I was doing hands-on healing, psychic surgery, channeling, and the people that were coming were like, I'm completely different. Like everything you did was permanent. Like I don't know what's going on. And I was like, I know what's going on. I can't describe it to you, but I know that what you're saying is true.
Yeah.
Because I had so many near-death experiences, I knew where to send everything that was being released. It was back directly to the source. It wasn't to the spirit world. It wasn't to an angel. It was like, we're going to the light of God now. Wow. And we're going to dump it there. And when you do that, it's permanent. And so, yeah, that's what happened. And then it was actually, Doreen Virtue's training happened, and then I came home, I got off the plane, and I was like, oh, I'd been serving in Boston for a while privately. It's like, it's time to move. I walked into my job, and I quit my job, and cashed out my 401k, and I moved to California.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So that was really, I thought for sure I was going to continue to serve just privately. But I think it was only within 2 years I started serving publicly, actually at like festivals.
So what would you do in festivals? Just like have readings with people, or
there was this group of us. It must have all been divinely orchestrated. There was a group of us in NorCal. We would produce spiritual events before it was cool to produce spiritual events at festivals. Yeah, there was really no one doing what we were doing. It was about, I don't know how many people, roughly maybe 2,000 people at the most, that were all partying together and exploring consciousness together.
And you organized them?
I was just part of a crew of people that we started organizing these events at a place called Isis Oasis. And they had this like theater with all the Egyptian artifacts, and that's where my public career started, was on that stage.
That's incredible. And what guided you then after that into the Mount Shasta world?
So I did I offered channelings, and I would create channeled ceremonies at these festivals, and also community gatherings. And I would still see people privately, but then there came a point where grief took over and took me out for probably, I don't know how many years it was. And I walked away from everything. Wow. I had a pretty, this is before having followers was a thing, before there was social media to have followers. People knew who I was wherever I went. And then I just was like, I'm done, where I'm disappearing. And I took a couple of years I couldn't work. I could barely function. It was like everything that wanted my attention had to have my attention. Thank God for the friends. Thank God for, just the angels in human form that kind of helped me get through that period.
Yeah.
And at one point, I relocated to Los Angeles, which we're here today, and met a very special family that took me in and really helped me get back on my feet. I was studying Apache ceremonial rites of initiation with this family, and that in that journey, that was the turning. That was when I decided to, before that happened is when Mount Shasta happened. I'm just putting it back together. Before I moved to LA. When those friends were helping me, I got the message that I was supposed to go to Mount Shasta.
Happens to a lot of people, I hear, right? Yeah. Like the mountain calls you.
How did the message come?
Yeah.
It came in my heart and with words. And even though I wasn't publicly channeling, I still had my practice, and I was still meditating. And so it was actually Saint Germain that asked me to go to Mount Shasta, and he said, "You're going to write a book." And I thought, okay, great. So I started to.
That was the message, that you're going to write a book.
Yeah,
and that's why you have
and
to
I was
go
like,
here.
oh, this is so important. But I'm falling apart in grief.
Wow.
So I didn't know how I was going to manifest this, because I had hardly any money. I was living off of pretty much nothing and the generosity of others. I went from a really high paying job to nothing, because that's what trauma and grief can do. It can completely wipe the slate clean. And this one person said, I'll help you, and help you rent this place for a month and a half. And I found this Tahoe style kind of huge home, and I was like, that's the one. And he was like, great, enjoy. And I drove up to Mount Shasta in my beater of a car, and the first thing I did when I got there was I pulled out anything that I had that was still mine and sacred to my daily meditation practice. And this house was full of new age stuff with different pictures of masters and angels, some of which I'd never really reconciled back with. And I built this huge altar across the living room, literally it just went across the entire living room. Wow. And I was like, all right, it's begun. Now what? And I was given the instructions, you will do the same thing every day. Like a chop wood, carry water situation. Right. And it was snowing out. I mean, Shasta, when it snows, I'm just me and my beater car in this big house by myself. You got to build a fire to stay warm. Wow. I was like, that was the message that kept coming back. Just do the same thing every day.
What was that day? What did that day look like?
It was make the fire, shovel the snow, so you can get to the car if you need to get to the car, make breakfast. I think, if I remember, yoga was a part of it in the morning, and then write, and then eat, and then maybe go for a walk or something, and then write, and then make dinner. And I was so healing still at that time. For whatever reason, God sent a friend to live up there at the same time, and she would come over and help me make meals because I was too afraid to touch a stove or to touch a knife, because that's how concerned I was that I would unintentionally harm myself because the trauma was so deep. Like I'd spend hours in the bathtub just sobbing, just like, it was indescribable, the pain that I was, that was releasing out of my body. But what I discovered was that the water of Mount Shasta was so perfectly intact that it felt like medicine all over my body. And I had never had an experience of water like that. Are you familiar with Dr. Emoto's work?
No.
Oh,
Fierce thing? Like that you see the emotion of water?
Yes, he was a Japanese scientist that proved that water crystallizes according to the intention placed upon it.
Oh,
That's interesting.
Yeah, like, you got to check out his books.
Yeah,
They're so beautiful. And so I was familiar with that work, and I was like, and he said some of the purest water in the world is under Mount Shasta.
wow, really?
So I was sent to, a place to not only receive what was to come, but to also heal my body and my soul in the process. And so because they gave me the message to always do the same thing every day, it was this, this perfect backdrop for the miracle that happened. Because if you're always doing the same thing, like a routine, if something remarkable is going to go down, you're really going to pay attention.
Totally.
For sure.
Yes.
That's really
Wow.
So
how many days were you doing the same thing over and
it was
over again?
about 4 weeks. And then it was after dinner. I finished washing the plates. I was like, oh, cool. I built a good fire. I'd brought my kitty cat up there. She was like basking by the fire. And I went to the living room to sit down with my laptop on the couch in the same seat. And all of a sudden, just like what had happened in the preface, like the walls started to move. I didn't know if there was an earthquake, because California gets earthquakes, obviously. And then I was like, this isn't an earthquake. I'm looking at the atomic structure of the walls right now. And then I noticed it started to happen to the floor, and then the ceiling was gone. And then everything just turned to white light. And the only thing that was left, everything physically disappeared except for my body and the laptop.
Oh, wow.
So I was sitting in pure white light with my laptop, and I was like, holy fuck, you better start typing, because you're never going to believe this when it's over.
Yeah.
And so
you just started typing.
Yeah, because
Wow.
that was my access point, was channeling.
Were you sitting in this light?
Thank you.
Like this white light that you were
Do you
experiencing?
know in the Matrix when everything goes white, we're in the training simulations? It was like that.
Wow.
For how long?
Long enough to make it very uncomfortable.
For me, that's like 7 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be like, what?
Well, what happened was that it smelled, this smell when lightning, when there's a lot of lightning with a rainstorm, that smell started to permeate the white light. And I was like, oh my God, that's the smell of lightning. And then I heard this voice come out, booming like thunder. And she said, I am Sophia, the one divine mother, creatrix of all life. Are you listening? And I was just terrified. I was like, what is going on? And I said, like the Greek goddess of wisdom. I was just like, don't want to say the wrong thing, but this is so intense. And she repeated it. She was like, no, I am Sophia, the one divine mother, creatrix of all life. Are you listening? And I was like, yes, you have my full attention, but please turn down the lights, because it is so bright, and you are so loud that it's unbearable. And she was like, okay, fair. So this piercing white light receded, where like it became golden. There was a golden hue to it. And that's when I started to see the Sophia dragons and all of the countless faces, excuse me, of the Ascended Masters
You saw the faces.
coming out of the white light, and they all entered into, I don't know where I was. I guess I was in a living room, but there was just light and the Masters and Sophia and the dragons.
Which masters were you seeing exactly?
There was thousands.
Wow.
And they were from all across the multiverse, but the ones that came forward in the front were the ones that are featured in section 2 of the Sophia Code.
Wow.
And thankfully I had been already like mentoring with them, and then in that moment it all made sense. I was like, oh, they've just been passing me around for the past, you know, however long, I don't even know how many years, that they had been coming to me, getting me ready to remember the soul contract that I had with the Sophia Dragon Tribe.
So, for the sake of anyone that has never heard concepts like this before, can you define Ascended Masters?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love to. So an Ascended Master, which we talk about in chapter 3 of the Sophia Code, is a soul that has achieved enlightenment in multiple physical earth plane incarnation, or multiple physical incarnations. It doesn't have to be specific to Earth. You can experience ascension and enlightenment on many planets in the multiverse. So there's a just because you achieve a certain level of awakening or enlightenment doesn't mean you're going to ascend. What does that word ascend mean? It means that you have reached a learning point, that you have learned everything that you can through physical form. And so you graduate to the much less dense parts of the cosmos and creation, and you exist as a light body, as a guide or a teacher for other beings that are kind of in kindergarten doing physical form incarnation stuff. So
they've ascended to enlightenment.
Well, it's more than enlightenment, because you can experience enlightenment and not ascend.
Okay.
It's you're getting off the karmic wheel of physical incarnation permanently, because your ability to serve has far surpassed having the limitations of form. And
in that new state of ascended masterhood, you then communicate with others to help them on with their karmic wheel?
Yeah, you when you're an ascended master, you work with other masters, just like how we like to make communities and work on projects together, so do they. And but usually to support the evolutionary arcs of a species evolution. So like, you know, we think in terms of 10 years, 20 years. They think in terms of thousands of years of like, oh, well, I'm going to be working on this project for the next 200,000 years. You know, it's like, in the span of eternity, it's really not long at all.
Right. Yeah. And how are they different from angels, like guardian angels?
Guardian angels, well, that's a great question. The angelic realm is pretty sophisticated. So there's all different kinds of angels. Someone could, instead of ascending as an ascended master, they could ascend into an angelic form and choose to, but there are also angels that have never been in form. So it's kind of a mixed bag of, we could go on a long conversation about angels. Star nations can be angels.
That sounds beautiful. What's up with star nations?
Yeah, what?
What's up with star nations?
Ascended star nations have achieved the ascension of their planet. And so then they act as spiritual guides for other species and planets to go through the same process of ascension. And when a planet ascends, what happens is the physicality of the planet merges with the star that it's orbiting. Wow. And they become one.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, the planet and the star exist as one.
We could use some...
Are they beings, like star nations? Are they like alien type of...
Well, people use the word alien. I like to reserve that word for the weird ones. The ones that I don't want to hang out with. The ones I don't want to hang out with, I call them aliens. Yeah, but the ones that I adore, I call them star nations.
Oh, that's so cool.
And how do they look like?
Oh, God, they're just as... Every species is just as diverse as you know, just how every person, no two people, like, I mean, exception of twins, look the same. Like, like it's startling how beautiful creation is. Wow. Like, there are so many species that are just as conscious as we are, actually quite more conscious.
I'd hope so.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yes. And I think, you know, what the reason why they're so deeply woven into the Sophia Code is because there's a lot of star seeds here on the planet this time, and those are souls that have come on a mission, on a volunteer mission, like myself, that are connected to ascended Star Nation civilizations, and you know, there's a lot of souls here that are masters that are here on this planet to help with the great shift, the great awakening.
Is that what is going on now here?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we are experiencing so much polarization.
Yeah.
So many extremes, so much oppression and control, because populations are waking up. Yeah. Humanity's waking up. And once you flip on those light switches, you can't turn them back off. People know too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the world, I think it can't really, I mean, it's over talked about and can't really be disputed. That we're more fragmented, and there's more darkness at the same time as more light, but there's so much energetic frequency shifting at this point. And it's exacerbated over the last, every year it seems to be exponentially magnetizing itself.
They're not even trying to hide their dark agendas anymore.
Right.
Yeah. And that's when you know things are spiraling out of control.
I like to think about, you know, we really try our best because there's so much confusion and there's so much darkness. We think it's really important to understand it, to be conscious of it, and to awaken to it.
Great.
Yet at the same time cultivate the light within.
Oh, there's no other way.
Right? And so
you can't look at the dark unless the darkness on this planet without collapsing if you do not really know the truth of the sovereign Christ light within you.
Tell me about that.
Well, that's what the Sophia Code activates within us. Every one of those key code initiations has been given to us by specific ascended masters. That's one of the things that happened at Mount Shasta. Was they said, we are asking you to bring Sophia's love letter to humanity. To help humanity reclaim its sovereign divinity. And at that time, I had never heard the word sovereign. I mean, it was just, I was like, what? Awesome. But
you heard this as you were typing.
Yeah, that's how I channel.
Okay, so you hear.
I hear, I see, I feel, I know. Wow. All four psychic clairs.
And so when you were, channeling this information, the Sophia Code was being given to you.
I was being given the commission. I was being asked, are you willing to bear both the blessing and the burden of this commission? And I, of course, said yes, some hesitation. And then I said, don't call me, I'll call you. Because the resonance was so high, I could barely tolerate it. Like with the trauma in my body, I was, whoa, so taken aback. I was like, I got to train. I got to get clear. I got to go handle some things. Don't call me, I'll call you. And 2 years later is when I got the message, like, no more waiting around, girlfriend, time to go. And so that set me on a 7-year journey to channel the book.
Wow.
And in the process of that, around like year 4 is when I saw the divine genome. And so that's what section 2 of the Sophia Code does. It activates the divine genome. And so the divine genome is the spiritual technology of your soul. It's the fingerprint of God that you are. And it exists within every cell of your body, and the metaphysical, the metaverse of your DNA, like the subatomic universe of your DNA. There exists these crystalline chromosomes of every virtue that is a quality of the divinity of your soul. So when we think about our carbon-based DNA, our biological DNA, like makes your eyes this beautiful blue color. Can't tell if they're blue or green, but your beautiful eyes. Your DNA is making your beautiful eyes, and your DNA is making your cool hair. And you probably had something to do with that. You know, it's like, but your DNA is responsible for that, right? And it's like the divine genome is responsible for carrying your soul's virtues, such as faith, creative genius. And we all have all of these divine virtues of God equally. Every soul has it equally, but it's all been configured uniquely per soul. So every soul has a unique fingerprint. And this divine genome, at any point in any physical incarnation, can be activated. And bridges of light can consciously be created between the divine genome to your physical DNA. What happens then? That bridge of light is going to override with time your biological DNA, so you can start functioning from your divine DNA. Now, because it's crystalline in nature, that means you can download an ever increasing amount of your higher self's light. So there's no limit to how much of your divine light that you can embody in this world. And at first, when I saw this as like an actual technology, it's like a motherboard of your soul that can operate both your human awareness and your biological DNA. And I was like, this is crazy. You want me to tell the world about this? And they were like, absolutely. Why? Like, you have to tell them. And I was like, nobody's going to believe me. They were like, it doesn't matter. You still have to tell them. And as I was downloading this information, wrestling with it every day in my writing room, I started to notice that I started functioning differently, operating differently. Like, my thoughts were changing, my behaviors were changing, like my body was changing. Like I was like, this is really working. Like, I had to test drive these teachings on myself for years before I released them to the public, because it's a pretty big statement to say. So what I realized in that journey and what the Ascended Masters showed me is like, this is why there's accounts of like Jesus shining like the sun in his physical form, right? Or the saints where they just have this radiance that starts to glow out of them. It's like, that's actually an indication of how much they've activated their divine genome and allowed the integration process to happen with their human form. Like, we so over-identify with our human form, but it's just a momentary gift that the soul is given to assemble for itself. And if humanity wants to get out of a slave mind mentality, this is the key, because the divine genome is the source of our sovereignty. It's why we can exist in a slave matrix and break free of it.
Right.
Wow.
And how do you hone in on it?
So these key code initiations in section 2 of the Sophia Code flip all those switches on.
And then?
Then I had to channel like 6 curriculums for a mystery school to teach people how to live the day-to-day reality of changing into their higher self versus their human self.
What does that look like when they start to shift?
What did it look like for you? You tried it on.
I tried it on first, thank God, because then I knew how hard it was, so that I was going to have to teach about it for the rest of my life.
And that's the burden.
And I'm not saying I'm perfect in any way, because I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that embodying your higher self is the daily practice. It's what the Ascended Masters like Jesus or Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene meant when they say we are walking the way. This is the way. The way is to allow your divinity, which is the greater part of you, to come over to baptize your humanity and to regenerate you, and to literally begin the process of ascension every day in your physical form.
Wow.
That's true awakening. But that means you have to look at every codependency, every addiction, everything that you are keeping yourself from being sober to your sovereign divinity. That means you got to have honest conversations. You got to examine, like, am I really doing my divine purpose? Did I marry the right person? Am I living in the right place on earth? Like, can I accept who I really am? Like, all of your chakras become activated over time with the divine genome activations. It's like you are coming online as a divine spiritual being radiating that light from every cell of your body in a world that is committed to remaining asleep, will violently oppose your awakening because it makes it's so uncomfortable.
It makes people really
It makes people
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're like, what do you mean you're going to change on me and become this holier than thou person? It's like, you're not even doing a holier than thou thing. That's their defenses to not wanting to wake up. And so what we do in our mystery school is we guide and mentor people and what it really takes to spiritually wake up and stay in your embodiment, your higher self embodiment. And so that's why we often use the term Christ light or Buddha light, which is, to us, all those terms are synonymous with source light. That is the light within me that kept me alive, right, from when I survived. And it's the light that we are working day and night as an international movement to activate within as many human beings on the planet right now. It's an international phenomenon, and we're just getting started.
I was just going to say, it feels like you're just getting
We're just getting started, so look out. We're coming.
What I
The
love,
language was just so beautiful.
Oh,
The
thank
language
you.
of it, like it's really a different language that has no negative. So everything is really. That's what I loved about it. That everything is really speaking to that higher light, and to the light being, as Eckhart Tolle would say.
yeah.
It's such a high frequency that when it was first released, I would get emails from around the world that people were passing out just holding the book. I'd get emails where people would say, I love your book so much, I can't read it, so I sleep with it. This one woman wrote me and she said she carried the book around her around the world. She went on a around the world journey. She said, yeah, I had your book in my backpack for a year. You didn't read it. But I was...
So it's just
so interesting,
charged
right?
with
There's like
energy.
Swami Vivekananda. Apparently, he could sit with a book and just
Get its
I read
energy.
it, and then he could say like page.
Well, it wasn't that. That's
They have
really
the energy
cool.
of the book with them.
But the transmission of the book was so activating when it first got downloaded onto the planet that it actually did require a mystery school to mentor people and how to take it in. And I love that you brought up the language.
The language.
Because it was presenting the language of the ascended masters. And there would be so many people that would come to me and be like, I can't even read one sentence. It's so beautiful, but I don't understand the language. And I had to be okay with that. And then over the years, as the transmission of the Sophia Code became integrated more and more within humanity, people were picking it up and being like, oh my God, I read your book in 3 months, and it was just like so amazing to see when a collective consciousness decides we're going to integrate this on behalf of so many people who are not ready for this level of a high resonance. We'll do, and then it opens the door, opens the gates for more and more people to receive it. I'm so glad that you love
Yeah, I think if you try to read something like that with your logical brain, like any channeled word, like The Secret Doctrine, try to read that with your logical brain, that doesn't really work. You have to tap into something else, and it's more of an act of listening. It's a different kind of reading. I really enjoyed
that
it.
you just shared that. That's what Mother Mary teaches us in the Sophia Code, and which we're going to dive into a lot next year, is active listening. It's listening beyond the words. So it's like a full body listening.
And it's really integrating what is coming out at you from those pages, right? Like what you mean full body listening. So it's taking the energy of the words into your being.
Well, yeah, it's the energy of the words, but it's actually it's a transmission. Like, actually, it's interesting that you brought up, like, the yogic path, the guru. Like, I'm not a guru, but that book is actually a transmission from the masters who were gurus in their own right. And so that book itself is the transmission. And it works on you, body, heart, and mind simultaneously. So some people may be conscious of one part of themselves getting activated, while other parts are like, they're still getting activated, but they might not be conscious of it. It's also doing this other cool thing. It's activating and cleansing and clearing every one of your physical incarnations that you've ever lived simultaneously. So what we do in the mystery school is we help people pace themselves, because it can be so, we call it a lightning path, a lightning medicine, because it clears like lightning through so many parallel lifetimes and traumas simultaneously.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And do you find that this gift that was given to you to bring this forward, did that also help you through your own healing path?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm who I am today because I was so blessed to be able to channel the Sophia Code. Yeah, it totally saved my life.
So looking back, you said it was a hard decision. Like, obviously, you knew the responsibility that it would bring to you.
Oh my God.
And then you said the blessing and the burden.
Yeah.
When you look at it now, how do you feel about where it's brought you and the process that you've had to go through for it?
I love who I am becoming in this embodiment, but for many years I deeply struggled being a public figure and a survivor of human trafficking. You know, I've definitely been publicly attacked for who I am. I've been publicly attacked for writing about dragons. I've been, you know, there's no end to what you can be attacked for when you decide to reveal your light and step into your leadership. And then you add on to it, like, this really is a modern sacred text. Like, that's a really big statement. Like, there's a lot of really big statements in the Sophia Code that I had to sign up to being the author of. And, you know, at the end of your life, it's not between, you know, what you and other human beings think about you. It's like, at the end of your life, it's like, did you show up to what you said you were going to do with God? It's that simple,
Did you show up for what you said you're going to do with God?
With God. God inside of you, and whatever you call source, God, of all that is, creator, creatrix, mother, Holy Father, whatever that is, you signed up for something, or you wouldn't have gotten the human body you got.
And what is it to you? The energy of God. What is that to you?
The energy of God is the source light. It's the womb of nothing, the nothing, the void. It's both. And it's radical love. And sometimes that source consciousness speaks to me. Well, in this lifetime, it speaks to me through the feminine voice. But in other lifetimes, I've heard that voice as the Father. You know, it doesn't source God. It's not about gender. It's about God will show up in whatever voice you need to hear it as. So, yeah.
What about the feeling that you have when you're in that presence of the source? Like you talk about.
Everything falls away. That's not important.
Can you tell me about the dragons?
Thank you. Yeah, I love dragons. I love talking about dragons. They're like one of my favorite topics.
Well, you said people attack you for talking about the dragons.
Oh yeah, because of the they're like, oh, she must be channeling like reptilian, alien shit. And
Do you believe in the reptile people?
Oh, I know that they're real.
Really?
Oh, who do you think is a part of the ruling of these families on this planet?
The dragons, did they come to you during your Mount Shasta channeling? You mentioned them earlier.
Yeah, they were there at the beginning. They were the most beautiful things I've ever seen, like ever seen. These are not like earth-based dragons, which are cool. I love earth-based dragons. They're great. These are what are called seraphim. So in the angelic order, there are different types of beings that are different like species of angels. And one is called the seraphim, and a single seraphim is called a seraph. So, and the chief, like every angelic order has like a chief. And in this case, the seraphim have two. And they spiral as DNA in the Sacred Heart of the Divine Mother. And so those two are called the Seraphiel. And they're not attached to any planet. They're not attached to any universe. But what they showed me is that their hearts and their wombs are one organ. And so they are a part of birthing creation. Like God is not, it's the source presence, the thoughts of the source presence is what gives birth to the physical, but the angels are a part of maintaining the physical sense of reality. Like the source is just the light and the nothing. It's consciousness. right? It's the love of that consciousness that is a part of co-creating form, but it's created angels to be a part of that, different angelic orders to maintain the universes of form that we're experiencing. So there are different kinds of seraphim, but at the very top are these Sophia dragons, and every one of their scales has an eye, and their eyes sing, like they're constantly singing the songs of what I call the songs of Sophia, but they're constantly worshiping the divine, and their singing is what keeps like contributing to creation, like orbiting in its mass. And there's like, when they cry because God is so beautiful, like it looks like diamonds and little lightning bolts that come out of every one of their scales, and they're so big that like they can give birth to an entire species in their heart womb, or a planet, or a universe. And what I discovered in my channeling was that a lot of species don't realize that they go back to these dragons or other original creator species. And so if they look deep enough in their unconscious, they see dragon mothers. They see things that make them feel really uncomfortable. And, you know, a lot of what's happening on this planet is playing into, like, preying on those fears. So they teach us about what it means to be a sovereign creator, because they are dedicated to birthing only species or planets through sovereignty, meaning they do not control the outcome in any way. They are simply the sovereign birthers of form for the Divine Mother. Not the only birthers, but pretty major players.
Yeah.
Wow. So during that time in Mount Shasta, was that the only time you've encountered these Sophia dragons, or have they come to you many times?
No, we're good friends.
You're good friends?
I mean, this isn't, just to be clear, like, these are beings that I interact with all of the time.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's why I dedicated my life to sharing about them, because it's an ongoing co-creation with them.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And it's something that you were also saying, how when you invoke like different divine energies, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the Sophia Code, there's all these codes. Every code.
There's key codes.
Can you explain a little bit more? Because I know a lot of people that are listening and watching this, this is their first time hearing about this. So can you just explain what is this key code? What does it mean, and how does it work?
Yeah, so that's such a great question. A key code is your unique signature of divinity. So everyone was made as a fractal of God consciousness, but we're all unique. So your unique soul signature is a key code. And in section 2, the Sophia Code, every chapter is dedicated to a different key code that's a part of like their mastery and their interaction with this planet. Their soul's interaction with this planet has created has become a part of the collective fabric of our identity as human beings. So like, whether you're Catholic or not, like Mother Mary is one of like the most famous people on the planet. Right? She's a part of the fabric of our story.
Right.
And so each of the key codes featured in section 2 they represent such a deep part of what we need to awaken within our hearts and in our psyches to reclaim. They represent when the divine genome, when populations had successfully activated the divine genome in great numbers. And so what happens when that happens, there creates golden ages, enlightened societies for periods of time on the planet. So each of those key codes represents, not all, they represent some aspect of golden age ascension, some shift in humanity's collective consciousness. Whether you've ever heard a white buffalo woman or not, like she's a part of humanity's, like the fabric of humanity's journey right now in a big way. Same with Green Tara. Like, oof, how many thousands of years she has influenced in how she was connecting with channels here on the planet, and how much her teachings have affected all of Asia, the whole world at this point in our modern society. So these featured key code souls ascended with such high level teachings, revelations, and an understanding of what it takes to activate this divine genome and live in that operating space within you. And so as you meet these souls and you receive these initiations from them, two things happen. They choose to mentor you. They're signing up to mentoring you for the rest of your life as spiritual guides, which is a really big deal. The second thing that happens is, as you mentor with them every day, you start to recognize your own key code. It starts to awaken the master within you.
Wow.
Wow. Your own power.
Yeah. So that's the journey you go on with them. And so a key code, every single key code that's ever existed is a part of the fabric of God. And as we each awaken and maintain an embodied state of awakened coexistence with one another, we start to awaken to the truth that we're not all of God, but we are definitely part of God. And there's no turning back from that. Then you start to play the game of life in a totally different way.
Well, like earlier you said that it becomes a practice, like a daily practice, because I think a lot of people think of these kinds of awakening processes and enlightenment and whatever it is that they imagine it might be. It's like, oh, now I've read the book. I activated the genome. I'm here. But the truth in whichever denomination of what it is where you're trying to push your consciousness to rise and to continue, it's an ongoing life journey. So do you imagine that is a part of somebody's karmic wheel? So for that life to see where they get to? Or is the goal then to become to a point where then you yourself transcend to ascended masterhood?
Yeah, as I shared earlier, like to become an ascended master, you have to achieve an embodied, stabilized, awakened state for multiple lifetimes. And you have to create a legacy of love. There's like, it's kind of like, getting your doctorate and being a soul. Like what kind of amazing thing are, you're going to co-create. It's like becoming an ascended master means you are one of the most mature beings in the universe.
Right.
Like it's not just a cool thing. It's like you are serving billions of souls. Most people can hardly get up the willingness to serve like a couple of people.
Yeah.
We're talking billions of souls. So when you start to mentor with them, you wake up pretty quickly to the eternity of your divine purpose.
Yeah.
And but as far as like, they're also very compassionate, which I love, because certain people are only going to get to a certain place in their spiritual journey in this lifetime. And that's okay. It's just like everyone has, because one lifetime, if you think about the movie of your soul, like every lifetime is a scene in your movie.
The movie of your soul.
Yeah. So
it's gorgeous.
Some scenes, they're going to be different than others.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. I've never heard it put like that before. It's really nice.
And how do these codes, maybe you can talk a little bit about the correlation with the chakra system? Because chakras, energy centers.
Absolutely. I love that. The chakra systems. Yeah. So with the Sophia Code, not only does it activate the divine genome, that's like the foundation of the temple. Because it's in every cell of your body, right? And your body is the temple of God. You are the temple of the God, the divinity of your soul, right? So there's all this additional spiritual technology in your body, like the 8 major chakra system, but there's other additional major chakras, and there's literally like thousands of little chakras all over your body, as I'm sure you know. And so each of the key codes, like each of their initiations, which happens at the end of each of their chapters, activates a particular center. So Isis activates the root. Now, this is really important because Isis is also deeply connected to the Kundalini practices of ancient Egypt. So
that's where the snake lies.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Kundalini yoga.
Yeah. So the Kundalini as a technology is also being activated by these initiations. And so when you have the Kundalini running, you have all the major chakra centers open, you have the divine genome functioning and overriding the biological DNA, and then you get the crown to the Katika channel, from the crown to the heart, fully clear and open, it's showtime for your embodied divine purpose. So, yeah, we are definitely addressing all of those, more so in the mystery school.
Okay.
We do speak about the Kundalini quite a lot in the Sophia Code, because I went through such a, honestly, like physically painful awakening
Right.
for like 10 years.
Wow.
Trying to integrate how intense that awakening was.
Yes. Wow. But something that really connected, why I was talking about the connection
Yeah, I'd
between
love
the
to know more.
ascended master, the divine feminine masters, and the chakra system. There's something about the white buffalo woman that you spoke of before this,
Yeah.
and how she is connected
At the crown.
the crown.
What's up with the white buffalo woman?
Mark's question. What's up?
We've been talking about it, and I need to hear it from you, because this is I was familiar with so many of
Maybe
the
you
divine
can explain
feminine
to him
masters.
what she is and what she
Yeah, like, give
represents.
us a
but then
lowdown.
I
also,
want to go chakras.
let's go from the base. Let's go from the base.
From the base of what?
I mean, from the beginning, like
Okay.
what does the white buffalo woman represent? Like, what is her divinity and how she serves?
Do you want me to go through the chakras first? Which one goes with which?
Sure, yeah, let's do that.
You were really going for it with the
Yeah, yeah,
chakras.
Let's
exactly.
do
No,
it. Okay,
that's great.
I'm so intrigued by it.
Because it ends with the white buffalo woman, so we'll get there.
Yeah.
No, actually it ends with
Oh.
the dragons.
Oh, that's right.
that-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm into that too.
Okay,
That's
cool.
amazing.
So we've got Isis at the root.
Mhm.
Thank God helping us with that Kundalini awakening. We have actually, even though Hathor is she of 1,000 voices, we actually have her at the sacral chakra because Hathor was such an extraordinary being on this planet. Her mystery school spanned half the planet. When she walked the earth, like millions of people were initiated by Hathor. So if you want to talk about like manifesting from sacral chakra prosperity, like the kind of prosperity that births a global movement, like you're mentoring with Hathor at your sacral chakra.
When did she walk the earth?
About 300,000 years ago,
Oh my goodness. And where did
give or take like 50 or to 100,000 years, but
we can give or take?
Yeah.
Sure. No, but like, is this
whatever we see about ancient Egypt is just like the end. Like we just have like the pieces of the end of the total decline of what was really Egypt.
And so Hathor?
Hathor. Yeah.
She's from Egypt.
Yeah.
Okay. I have no, like that one was completely new to me as well. So
Yeah.
this is-
And then she ascended to Sirius. Well, she was consciously shape-shifting between her Syrian form and her earthly form while she taught on the earth. And that's why another reason why we featured her in the Sophia Code. It was because that is our human potential, is to be able to have complete mastery over our physical form and to shapeshift as needed for our divine purpose. That's a whole other bag of cats to talk about. So anyways,
But
solar plexus.
But she went to Sirius. Or she
Yes, and
ascended to
so
Sirius?
did some of her highest initiates. They all ascended together
Oh, wow.
in the ships, and they also disintegrated their attachment to most of their form. So when you meet them in the Sophia Code, you'll meet them. It's like they have a lot of angelic wings and eyes. Like they only kept what they wanted to keep as an expression of who they are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that would be an example of an ascended Star Nation energy.
Sirius has played a huge role
Yeah.
in our life.
Ah.
Yeah.
We even got a little tattoo.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, Green Tara, Hathor, Isis, these are all mentors in the Sophia Code that are connected to
Oh
Sirius.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's our guiding star.
It is. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's the witch?
The guiding star.
It's so bright in the sky.
Oh yeah. We've been following it for years.
Yeah.
I know that, like,
Literally following back. Oh, there's our star.
and we're going in that direction again. What do you, like, literally,
Yeah.
it's a constant in our life that
Yeah.
tells us exactly where we need to be. It's
The
really
dog
interesting.
star.
The dog star. For sure. For sure. Okay, so after we have ascended to Sirius,
Well, Green Tara, she actually did not ascend from this planet. She ascended in the Syrian Star Nation. Before the Syrian... before her planet that was orbiting one of the Sirius stars, before they merged, she spent like eons incarnating in Sirius. Ooh, some pretty full-blown martyrdom lifetimes. And then she ascended once that planet ascended. And then Divine Mother asked her to become an ascended master here, like overlighting humanity's evolution from India, Tibet. So the age of Shambhala was because of Tara's arrival to this planet. Wow. Yeah. So she governs the solar plexus center because it's our star, it's our sun, and her name in the Sophia Code is She of 1,000 Stars, because she really gets us in touch with our connection to the star nations and our angelic mission here. At the heart, we have Mother Mary, of course. Yeah. And that's what next year's journey is all about, is the journey to activate every petal of the lotus flower of the Anahata chakra to fully open, because the heart chakra is actually a two-part chakra. You have the Anahata chakra, but there's a stargate once that's fully open to activate what's called the Hrit chakra, which is the only chakra in the body that each petal of that chakra contains the superpowers of the human body. Every other major chakra has what's called a vitri, which can represent a samskara, an obstacle to your awakening. Right. So as the Kundalini arises from your root chakra, traveling to your crown, it is clearing out all of those samskaras from every major chakra. But once you clear them in the Anahata heart chakra, which Mother Mary is a master of, you, with the master support, can go in and begin the process of awakening the Hrit chakra. At the throat, we have Mary Magdalene, which couldn't be more appropriate because this is a woman that's been silenced for over 2,000 years. It's experiencing a big comeback these days. And she was such a powerful orator, such a powerful channel. She had so much to say. She's so intelligent.
What was she like? I mean, obviously she has been silenced and basically eliminated out of the scriptures, right?
Oh, how about being called a whore for 2,000 years? And you talk about defamation. There's a serious defamation suit there. Yeah. Like,
lawyer up.
Yeah, lawyer up, Mags. Yeah, no, she is. There's so much content that people think that is Mary Magdalene, both Catholic as well as New Age, that I have, I don't participate in a lot of that. But what I do know is what's in the Sophia Code is the heart of Magdalene. And she was like, walking with not just an angel, like an archangel in human form. Like, she was so gifted. She was a child prodigy. She was incredibly psychic. She was training in mystery schools from like the age of 3. Like, her family was extremely wealthy. She wasn't forced to marry anyone, which was unheard of at that time. Like, her mother had a secret divine feminine practice that, so it's like she was way beyond her time. Wow. Yeah, she was gorgeous and, had style for days. I mean, she was the everything, and women were jealous of her and wanted to be her and would project onto her. And she had so much compassion and so much show up. And she was an extraordinary shamanic healer. Like, she was performing exorcisms side by side with Jesus. Like, and the irony of this is she was written in the Bible as though that in her first meeting with Jesus that he had to exorcise her. Yeah. Which is insane, because they were sitting side by side in these fields teaching together. Wow. As gurus. Side by side with the same level of training, same level of miraculous healing power, but his masculine presence was there to protect her, to be able to share. I mean, talk about Jedi mind tricks. Imagine being in front of thousands of people that could stone a woman to death. Like, any man had the right to stone a woman to death at whim if she broke some like weird law of the time. Wow. And so when they would sit side by side together, his presence and their consciousness was so awakened that they could soften the hearts for people to really receive her as a master teacher. And a ceremonialist, a facilitator, sacred space. So that's why we have her at the throat. Yeah. There are millions of women worldwide that are in the process of healing thousands of years of persecution and censorship and atrocities just for being women. And the divine feminine has been persecuted within men and women alike for centuries. So we have her at the throat to help us, you know, really claim our message in this lifetime. And at the third eye, which is interesting, we have Guan Yin, where she is guiding us in how to be the compassionate witness beyond the empathy.
Beyond the empathy.
Yeah.
Compassionate witness.
The compassionate Christ witness or Buddha witness doesn't get, how do I say it? Doesn't get run over by empathy. So you could feel really bad for someone, but that could block your ability to serve them as they really need to be served in their sovereignty. People often over it's codependency. How do you stay out of codependency? How do you serve through sovereignty? You have to see the Christ within each person. You have to see the perfection of the path that they chose. And you have to interface with them from that perspective, with all the compassion in your heart, but not being steamrolled by your own empathy for what they've survived. It's a really powerful balance that she mentors us in. Because as you ascend to the crown chakra, you've got to have shiploads of compassion for the ocean of suffering that everyone is so animately attached to here.
Yes.
And so when we open up the crown chakra, that happens with white buffalo woman, because white buffalo woman, the decision to make what buffalo woman key code 7 in the Sophia Code, the parameters were you had to have existed in physical form to make the cut. Like you couldn't just be a spirit guide, you couldn't be an ancestor, you couldn't be like an angel that never been here. You had to have really come and served others, like an entire population, a legacy. And Buffalo Woman she descended directly from the Sky Grandmothers, which is an ancient order, angelic order that oversees the ascension of this planet specifically. And she is, she took on form to do it and to bring her teachings to the plains people. And in that process, what are we, there's this whole story at the beginning of her chapter about how this man tries to rape her. And as he runs towards her to rape her, she literally turns him to dust. Where he just turns to dust and bone at her feet. Why is that? What is this mirroring to us of what's possible? What it's saying to us is, are you really ready to believe in the power of your divinity? Because the power of your physical form has no hold over the power of your divinity. The power of your divinity is charged with commanding miracles for keeping creation in harmony and balance. That means if something's about to violate the sacred, you have the power to decimate it. It's an interesting mirror White Buffalo Woman brings to us. It's hardcore. When you get to the seventh chakra, what's happening is like, are you for real? Are you really here to serve according to the divine will of your higher self, your divinity, God? Because that's a really different than like what your ideas about leadership is for serving.
So meaning that you may have to do something that to turn someone to dust.
It's pretty extreme.
It's pretty extreme.
But what is that saying? It's saying we don't have to accept being raped anymore as a species.
And it brings back balance. It helps protect the divine.
Yeah. It's just more than even the decimation of that which would destroy life. What she's saying is, I commanded that in a moment. Like, we have this idea that miracles have to unfold over long periods of time and they can happen instantaneously. And if we're going to get the job done in this lifetime, like, the planet is at a pivotal moment. Humanity is at a pivotal moment. We have to believe in our ability to command miracles in our bodies, in our community, in our businesses, in our nations, in this world. And that's a big responsibility, because then you get to see that miracles actually, that you have way more power than you've ever given yourself credit for, which most people are terrified of because they do not think they are apt stewards of that power.
Mm.
Most people have very low opinions of themselves. They've been taught to believe that they're just human. But when most of you is actually a divine soul that's a fractal of God consciousness, why wouldn't commanding miracles be part of the deal? We have to begin the process of accepting that. The crown chakra governs claircognizance, which is divine knowing. So if you know a miracle is supposed to be commanded over something, an opportunity, a situation, a population, like if you can see clearly, because Guan Yin's guiding you, your third eye, Mary Magdalene's mentoring you the exact words to say, and White Buffalo Woman is like, let's go. You got your technology like up and running. It's showtime, it's go time. Let's go. So then what happens? What's going on at the 8th chakra? It's the Sophia dragon. So the 8th chakra is about 1.5 feet above your head, above your crown chakra. It's called the soul star. Why would we have dragons at the soul star? Well, because they're mentoring us in our ability to keep accepting ever increasing amounts of our own soul's light downloading into your body. So if your body is a physical vessel, a chalice, a vehicle for your soul's light to come into this world, and your body has the technology to anchor and integrate, not just anchor, but integrate so that your human awareness starts functioning as a divine master. It's going to take dragons to like seraphim, angelic beings to help guide and mentor you in that level of accepting your own magnificence and your own sovereign creative power to birth any paradigm of your choosing.
Wow.
That's so powerful. Wow.
Have you...
So that's what's happening with the chakras, with the Sophia Code.
And that's incredible. So when, you know, you are working with each of these divine masters, you're also at the same time, like you're balancing all of those energies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the divine feminine. The feminine principle is so committed to harmony, balance, expressing every facet of our beingness, not repressing or controlling any part of us, because we need every part of us.
Well, exactly. Every part of it, it serves a purpose, right?
Yeah.
You can't just have one activated and the other one is, you know, working at half
And that
speed.
happens a lot in New Age spirituality. People running around with activated imbalances in their crown chakra or their root chakra, and like, oh, I'm a tantric, blah, 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 blah. And they're just like, just slopping everywhere, like sexual energy, and it's not helping anyone. It's creating obstacles because there isn't like this taking full responsibility for the full balance of the body and all the powers of the chakras. Because if you get a fully activated root chakra and your heart chakra is keeping it balanced, like you're not going to use sexual energy in a weird way that's going to harm or manipulate people.
Yeah.
You're going to use it for good.
Yeah.
You're going to cultivate it. You're going to use it for your creativity. You know, you're going to really think about the kind of partnerships or relationships that you get into. And same with the higher centers. Like people can have a really wide open third eye, but they're not even in their body down here. And so they're really ungrounded, and you make really not great decisions when you're not grounded or connected to the earth plane.
What can we say to people like that? I mean, spirituality's come to such a new age and new level.
Yeah.
Where it's just...
There's like a fashion of spirituality now, right? Like
you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are wearing...
I love that you're speaking to that.
different hats and even like the terms divine masculine, divine feminine. Like you hear those words being used so often in many different ways.
Same with Magdalene and Jesus, like their relationship is being manipulated to no end to sell products and workshops and things that have nothing to even do with them.
So how do we guide people to get to a point of understanding the practice?
If you met the people in our community, in the Sophia Code community, our certified leaders, the people who have attended every curriculum, every event, first of all, they don't even look like the same people because their whole bodies shift into their higher self embodiment. But they are some of the most beautiful, grounded individuals I've met in the New Age spiritual movement, because we preach that it's one day at a time. And look, the powers of your chakras, your psychic gifts are not party tricks. You know, it's like, it's here to serve Like most of what we see on the market right now out there is spiritual infancy, and what we teach in the Sophia Code Mystery School is spiritual maturity.
That's beautiful. Because it seems like the infancy, as soon as somebody gets a taste of something coming alive in themselves, they're like, how do I apply a marketing plan and put it on Instagram and move the jungle?
Totally.
And it's like, whoa, well, it's just the beginning.
That's an interesting thing that you just said, you know, because I spent so many years in seclusion, not wanting anyone to even know what I was doing, because I wanted to test drive and make sure all of this really worked on me. And, you know, to come back to your great question, it's like, spirituality is to heal and transform your life so that you can show up to the offering and the divine purpose that you said you were going to fulfill before you ever came here. So if you're not in your body, if you're not in your daily practice, what are you doing? What you're doing is you're looking for a spiritual binky.
A witch?
A binky.
Binky?
I don't know a binky.
You want a titty in your mouth. You want spirituality to feed you like a mommy, and you're going to scream and rant and rave until you get what you want. I want my next spiritual high. I want my next spiritual this or that. And it's just like, yo, you just want a binky? We don't have any of those here. You should go try someplace else. They've got plenty of binkies out there for you. Yeah.
That's...
Well, you mentioned like the daily practice. What does a daily practice look like for you?
Yeah. So my service is a big part of my daily practice, actually. Like I don't know what other authors or influencers necessarily do with their lives, but I show up every day to this movement. So, you know, as far as like a normal practice, it always involves actually... Going back to your question, a lot of people are ungrounded in the spiritual world because they do not do strength training. They do not, they're not in their physical bodies. They're not creating resistance. Like the body needs physical resistance to integrate high level spiritual experiences. So if you're always looking to get high off spirituality, but then you're not taking the time to actually emotionally integrate and psychologically integrate through a physical practice, you just, it's going to cause a disassociation from the body over time.
So what kind of strength training do you do?
I work with a personal trainer 5 days a week.
Amazing.
And I've done it for years. So my gym is like church for me.
Wow.
Like I show up, I hate my workouts. This past couple, I just started with a new trainer and I'm just like, oh my God, you're so creative and I hate everything you're doing. Like,
wow.
And then I always think of at the end, but like I dread my workouts.
Are you a morning workout person?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm up at 7 a.m. with my trainer every day.
And that puts you on the track for the day?
And then I work out at night too.
Wow, hey?
Wow, twice a day.
Yeah, because after I'm in business meetings all day, talking to clients, managing team, dealing, you know, being on social media, doing the whole like, hey everybody, we're still here serving you. Like you got to take it back. I do like, I know you said you like Pilates. In my evenings, usually like Pilates or yoga or some kind of cardio. And then the morning is always strength training.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
No, that like, I think that a lot of people get lost in their work. A lot of people get lost in their spiritual path. And I think that what you said that's really beautiful is that to come back to yourself, to that which...
To close the day off too, right? Like you start the day with connection to yourself and the grounding. Yeah. Then you do everything that you have to do and then you finish with the day. That's such a beautiful cycle.
Thank you.
Yeah, in 2022, if a day for a very active person with a movement like yours, we have our own thing going on. And at the end of a fucking day, it's the only thing you have left is to come back to yourself.
That's it.
Or you drift further and further away with each day. If I follow out of my daily routine, every day I'm a little less who I know I should be, like drifting in the water away from shore.
It's a great word, because when you have so many people that you're serving, looking to you to be an example, you can lose yourself in that. In the business part of it,
the business
it's
is
just
insane.
like So
how do you balance the business
and spirituality?
That's like we have our methods and ways, but it's like it's this constant like.
No, I'm not gonna. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
Like always. I mean, especially when you have a business, the first few years, like, one thing that I love that Tony Robbins teaches is that your company is like however many years, like say you've had your company for 3 years, you're pretty much dealing with a toddler, a 3-year-old. So when you have a 3-year-old, you're still feeding them all the time. There's dirty diapers to change everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just like, potentially depending on how long, when you do potty training and all that, it's just like, it's still a hot mess.
Oh yeah.
Hot mess. Like until about 7 years old. So it's like, I think I have so much compassion for business owners because everyone has has fantasies about, I'll just start my own business someday. And it's just
That's
like, okay,
it's a fashion now, for sure.
And to really stay the course as a business owner, like I really believe true, authentic business owners are it's such a way to change this world. If you look at like what they were trying to do during the pandemic, they were trying to wipe out business owners.
Of course, yeah.
And it was the business owners that kept things steady regardless of the oppression that we were all facing in our society. It was like everyone that came to work for me, they didn't have to make a medical choice about who they were working for or when.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like that's a big deal. And so, but that also means that like, you're the first one to clock in, you're the last one to clock out. Everyone else gets paid before you do. So there's years where, that hurts.
So you mentioned Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Do you find inspiration from him? Like, has he been
I did one of his Miami masterminds, one of those week-long Miami masterminds.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was super intense.
I bet. That guy's a maniac.
Yeah, he's a force of nature. Like to watch him perform and serve, just from, I thought, of course, I was very interested in the topic, but when I went, I really just wanted to watch him and I wanted to watch his team. I just wanted to see how the environment functioned. I wanted to see, and I learned a lot.
Oh my God.
I mean, like, I don't know what they're using. I think they're seriously using artificial intelligence to be, I don't know that for sure, but like, literally the music was always on point and the lighting the moment anything changed. Like within 10 seconds or less, if he was like, trying to really help somebody and the whole room's crying, like the music and the lighting is perfectly timed. Wow. And then if he wants everybody jumping up, and I mean, this is happening within anywhere between 2 to 5 minute intervals for hours on end.
That's really
Did you find it super transformative, like even just a weekend like that?
I learned some things that I don't think I could have learned anywhere else.
Wow.
Like he's a master.
Oh my God.
It's incredible. I mean,
starting boho, like when we were first getting in on this, I used to run on a treadmill and just put Tony Robbins on.
Yeah, there's a reason he's been around forever.
Oh my God, right? And and then that led, I mean, what about like Jim Rohn? Did you ever listen to like his mentor, Jim Rohn?
No, not so much.
He's really interesting.
Yeah,
I like so I guess Tony's story.
He's got a bit of a humor to him.
Yeah, he's really funny. So Tony's thing was he ended up working for Jim Rohn, and in that journey, like sort of where he learned how to be Tony Robbins. So when I heard that, I was like, Jim Rohn, check. Let's go check that out. And he's a really, like, he's actually, I still listen to him from time to time because he has some very basic, simple principles that I think people can take and adopt into their life.
Yeah.
To not just build, as he would say, like a fortress of wealth to protect your family, but to build a life of responsibility and a life of like showing up for what you agreed to do.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And that's why I love when you said that. Like that's the spiritual path, but it's also the human path.
Jesus taught, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all these things will be added onto you. If your prayer for service is sincere and you have authentically chosen to come here and serve, like all these things will be added onto you in the timing that your soul deems fit. There's no God in the sky waving a wand. It's like, this is between you and your higher self.
Right.
Yeah. And I love what you brought up about like the simple practices. Some of the other pieces that help me ground throughout the day is I always light candles.
Oh, wow.
All over my house and on my altars. Like that happens every day.
Yeah.
And it happens in the morning and it happens at night.
What's it about that?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, candlelight always raises the frequency of a room.
Are you
Angels love.
Yeah,
She's
I
a
love
candle queen.
I love
right here.
candles.
Oh my God. Yeah.
We'll
So
see
you
it
feel,
at an
you know,
Airbnb.
Always like, even at Airbnbs, I'm like, I need to get
Where's
some more
the candles?
candles.
Where's the candles?
Well, it
Like,
always clears the vibration, keeps it really high. And for me, it's a form of gratitude. Like, it's a fire offering back to all of my guides and my ancestors. And I don't know, fire is just a really important element to me. I don't even know, like, I don't even know what like life would be without it. And then I always put fresh flowers around my house, my office, like arranging fresh flowers as a part of my practice. I have a meditation room. I have all my tools there for when I want to like fully download. But that doesn't mean I used to meditate every day. But what happens is if you meditate long enough, your whole life becomes the meditation. Your whole life becomes the ceremony. And years of my meditation practice got me ready to spend years behind a laptop.
Oh, wow.
So
that's really interesting,
like,
actually.
doing the things I do for my business in this movement, I don't always like them.
Of course.
But it's a meditation to do them anyways.
That's so interesting. Showing up, surrendering to the process of that which is your service.
Yes.
And that's so beautiful.
It's a walking
chop
meditation.
wood, right? Chop wood,
chop wood, carry water. Let's go.
Literally, that's our laptop life.
Yes.
In the sense, right?
And also like the way there's so many tools that you use to ground yourself, right? Like the candles and the workouts.
Incense too.
Incense?
Every
Like
day,
Palo
make an
Santo
offering.
or
I use Palo Santo to clear.
Uh-huh.
And then I use incense to make an offering back to life.
Okay. What kind of incense?
I have, I'm happy to actually send you some.
Okay, sure. I'd love
It's
to
so
receive it.
beautiful.
Okay.
I don't know the actual name, but I think it comes from either India or Tibet.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
but
beautiful.
it's got a lot of sandalwood in it, and sandalwood just really connects me to that, like devoted, divine, like the devotion to divine love. Just like, oh yeah, I might have just had to do 1,000 meetings today, show up to teaching class, get on YouTube live, like the endless. But thank you. Thank you for all the blessings. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Like, it's easy to get into a space where you don't say thank you.
And I often think like about Kali Yuga, right? Like, is this truly Kali Yuga? And what brings me joy when considering Kali Yuga is that the other side of it is the Golden Age.
Yeah.
And so
But that Golden Age doesn't happen with enough awakened people. That happens one heart at a time.
That's beautiful.
That's why we're working day and night with the Sophia Code movement.
Fuck, I love that.
It's the only way it happens.
And you think it's possible for us to create the golden age?
Yeah, I do. I actually do. I think it's possible for the Luciferian matrix to actually collapse on itself.
It's kind of collapsing.
I mean, you just look at what's happening right now. Like we were saying earlier, more and more people are starting to just slowly question, slowly wake up.
Some not so slow.
Yes.
So
but some are just like, there's like a little like, huh, really? Let me think about that. How does that resonate with me? You know, like slowly it's happening. And I think we have to believe in that and focus on that, like what you're doing with your mission. Like you're saying, one heart at a time. It's so beautiful because, you know, one person at a time that's going to connect deeper with their heart. And even whether it's, you know, through your tools that you offer, or maybe it's through other tools.
Absolutely.
Like there's always a path for everybody.
Many paths. Yes.
And it's important for all of us to explore those paths. So, you know, read a book and see how that, connects to you. Maybe it doesn't connect to you. Go do a yoga class. Maybe go do a bhakti yoga and sing in kirtan with a bunch of friends. You know what I mean? Like there's always
Just
different
don't stop exploring.
Exactly.
Keep going.
Yeah, like opening our heart to all the possibilities of awakening and light that is out there for us to explore and walk towards it and not be afraid. And I think also through that, we will find that community that we're searching for as well. You know, finding those people. And what you're creating is so beautiful because you're creating a community with, you know, the mystery, what you're saying, like the trainings and the Sophia Code. And
you're beautiful example of taking darkness and creating
into light.
Thank you.
And now you also mentioned earlier, you're now going to be working on a second book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Finally. After birthing like 6 curriculums, so I'm going to be I'm going to be completing the manuscript in real time as we take this live journey and receive the next series of divine genome initiations from Mother Mary. So the book is called Mother Mary Speaks. So the entire book will be from Mother Mary and her teachings on how to open the Anahata heart chakra completely and keep it open. I'm not even saying that I'm there yet. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens as I receive all these downloads from Mother Mary. What I do know is that because the silent war against humanity is so intense that it's a war that no one knows how to exactly know how to talk about or articulate, but we're all suffering from it. This is the perfect time for her book to finally come forward, because our heart chakra is actually a stargate. So the way it functions when it's fully open is that every aspect of divine love gets to be expressed through each of the petals of the heart chakra, which means that you get to experience the invincibility of divine love. And if we had millions of people walking on the planet that were fully embodying the invincibility of divine love, they would no longer back down. They would no longer fear evil. They would no longer fear speaking up and embodying their truth and fully embracing their divine purpose. So yeah, opening the heart is the journey for 2023 with Mother Mary.
Hey, man, it's happening. It's
Yeah.
already starting. And I think you're just going to throw some gas on the fire.
Get some jet fuel out there.
It won't melt steel beams, though.
Yeah.
How do people find more information about all of this, and how do they connect with you and learn more about
Thank you. So you would visit my website, which is my first name and my last name.com. So it's KAIARA.com. And it's all there. The mystery school curriculums, how to connect with our community. We're actually launching a membership app simultaneously with the Mother Mary Speaks live journey. So there's going to be like 13 live classes with me, but we'll also have like 11. We call our team Angels. So there'll be 11 Team Angel study sessions. We'll have ceremonies, personal rituals, and they'll be getting all the material before the public does in 2024. Wow. So
that's amazing.
That's incredible.
Wow.
It's going to be, I'm really excited about it. Wow. I'm really excited to be writing all next year, just that. So
channeling.
Thanks for letting me share about that.
Oh my God.
and we'll of course add all the links and everything in the show description so people can go and click and learn and dive deeper into this incredible work that you've done. Thank you, Kaia Ra. Like what you're doing is, I hope you know how much is changing the world. So
thank you so much. It was such an honor to be here.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Juliana and Mark. Thank you. I've had so much fun today. Like, these are the kind of conversations I want to have all of the time. Like, this is just such a rodeo, so much fun. Just like, thank you for being so amazing and spreading your light and really opening the door for so many people around the world to safely explore their spirituality. Very cool.
That's so well said. We all have to do it.
We all work together.
That's right.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's been an honor. So
thank you.
Thank you
so much. Thank you.